you've got to make sure that before you start fishing or going out to go fishing, you got to have the right content, the bait. You got to have the right fishing pole with the right messaging to catch the fish you're looking to catch. And then you've got to have the right skills to get out there and go training. I want to welcome you to my sales podcast, where we have one focus and one focus only. That is helping you, the sales community, and sales leaders create more conversations with more qualified buyers, ultimately leading to improving your sales productivity and closing more deals. Each show, you will hear from sales leaders, practitioners, and influencers to help you find, engage, and connect with more buyers. I'm Mario Martinez Jr., and you're now listening to the Selling with Social Sales Podcast. 100. You know what that number is? That's right. This is the 100th episode of the Selling with Social Sales Podcast. And guys, thanks for listening in to this podcast. I could not be more excited to deliver this particular podcast to you guys with my fellow co-founders of Vengreso, Mr. Bernie Borges, Kurt Shaver, and Viveka von Rosen. We have nearly been in business for almost 2 years, forming the largest digital sales training and consulting company in the world. And I've got them on the show to talk about our evolution, things that we've gone through, changes that are coming, and that's right, some new product announcements. So all of you guys listening in, enjoy this 100th episode. And I personally want to thank every one of you for listening in to my podcast and being loyal followers and having tens of thousands listening in for the last 2 years on this 100th episode. Thank you so much for being with me and watching us grow. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Selling with Social, the 100th episode, and you just heard the freaking brand new music that we have launched now with episode 100, and I could not be more excited to bring this episode to you, as well as thank you for being our loyal listener. So thank you so much, and I've got with me a very special crew. That's right. This is my homies, my peeps, my crew. I've got the beautiful, the amazing Chief Visibility Officer of Vengreso, Viveka von Rosen. Say hello, Viveka.
Hello, everyone. I thought you were going to say the beautiful Kurt Shaver or the gorgeous Borges.
No. I won't call Kurt Shaver the gorgeous, but I will say the handsome, the manly, the tall, with the beautiful smile. How about that? Mr. Kurt Shaver, our Chief Sales Officer. Say hello, Mr. Kurt Shaver. There we go. He was slicking his hair back, y'all. And I also cannot forget the amazing, the smart guy in the room, Mr. Bernie Borges, our Chief Marketing Officer. Bernie, welcome to the show.
What's going on? I'm still working on that smile.
There. We all have like this smile thing going on. Like somehow, some way, it's like the great teeth, great smile we got. I love it, guys. Well, for all of you who are joining in, these are the 4 Vengreso founders. And for those of you that listen to the podcast, you know who Vengreso is. For those listening the first time, Vengreso, we formed almost 2 years ago, believe it or not. And for those who've been loyally following Selling with Social since we launched, you've heard the journey, you've seen us go through a transformation, you've seen us or heard us go from individual companies to the world's largest digital sales training and consulting company. I wanted to give something very special to you all because this is the 100th episode, and it's been a huge milestone to get to this point when Selling with Social. But more importantly, a huge milestone in terms of what we've accomplished as a startup company. And so those of you that follow us on LinkedIn, You may have seen a recent announcement where I talked about our end of year results, which we were at 114% of plan as a startup company in our first year in business and profitable. That's the crazy part.
That's the best part.
That's the best part.
That's right. That is the best part. You got that right. You got that right. It has been one fun, crazy, giant, emotional roller coaster of a ride. And I wanted to bring our 4 Vengreso founders in because we have some great things to talk about today, including huge announcements, which we'll be spending some time on with Viveka. And then we'll be talking about actually before the announcements, we'll be talking about something that's changed in the marketplace, studies and information that has come out that you all need to be aware of. And then we'll talk about how and why Vengreso has taken the position that we did in the marketplace, which is now supported by evidence, by data. So let's get right into this, guys. Kurt Shaver, you know Kurt Shaver. He's our chief sales officer, like I said. Kurt, recently we had some data that came out, one from the State of Sales Report 2018 by LinkedIn, and another one that was published for the 2019 CSO Sales Buyer Insights. And there was some really beefy information inside there, but 2 things stuck out for us. You want to talk about those 2 things and what that meant from a market impact perspective?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Right. So the first one you mentioned was the LinkedIn State of Sales Report, which came out in October of 2018. Check it out, guys. A lot of great things in there. But the one that really hit me, and I think hit a lot of our clients, was the fact that LinkedIn certified that 62% of decision makers said that they look at a sales rep's LinkedIn profile before deciding whether to engage with that person, right? Again, if you Google your name, LinkedIn shows up. That's the first thing people are going to see. It carries your professional brand. So, just seeing that actual statistic just really emphasizes why we say that is the very first step that should ever be in any digital selling program. I mean, it's funny, right? We see clients all the time that jump way to the end, what we call step number 5, where they're talking about, we want our salespeople to use this application to feed content to the network. And we're like, hold on, can we back up 4 or 5 steps? Because anything that a company does that's going to increase their sales reps' activity on LinkedIn, the very first outcome is going to be that client's going to click on their LinkedIn profile and go back to it, right? So if it's horrible or it's damaging or it's off-brand, right, or it's naked, we have seen them all, guys. I just looked at the profile of a big sales software company, and a rep that's been there for 5 years in his profile photo still had the logo of a company that he worked at 6 months ago. So, we've got a million of those stories. So the point being of that stat, it's very important to have a professional looking LinkedIn profile. Now, the other report that Mara was referring to was from CSO Insights. Our friend Tamara Shank, the lead analyst, lead researcher at CSO Insights, part of the Miller Hyman Group, came out with a report that was talking all about social selling and a lot of statistics around social selling. The big takeaway is that, get ready for this, it's a revelation.
I'm ready.
As social selling adoption increases, so does the win rate of opportunities, okay? So get better at social selling, those win rates go up, right? Some of the statistics, the particulars are, they broke it down into people that have between 0 and 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, and then above 75% adoption. So in companies they studied that had more than 75% adoption of social selling skills, their win rate was 50% higher than the lowest adoption level. So this just proves social selling works when there's high adoption. Now, the trick is, how do you get high adoption?
That's right.
And I'm sure we're going to probably talk about that a little bit later, Mario.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And I think that information that came from CSO as well as LinkedIn, it validated pretty much everything that we've been saying in the marketplace, right?
It made you feel good, didn't it?
Yeah, it made us feel freaking good. That's right.
I was joking with Tamara Shank that she's like our greatest salesperson advertiser.
She's our brand ambassador.
Reports about how great selling is.
That's exactly right. Because, we brought something to the marketplace and it was a methodology. And that methodology that we brought to the marketplace was, I think when I started out 3 years ago in this space, which was way later than my peers here are on the phone, there was about 469 quote social selling or digital selling experts. Now there are well over 2,000 that have claimed to be, digital selling or social selling experts here in the marketplace. But it was something that was interesting was when we came together as an organization to bring something to the marketplace, we brought a mindset to the marketplace that was all of these consultants or any of these digital sales training companies that were out there were doing it wrong. And what were they doing wrong? They were basically trying to teach salespeople how to fish and where to fish before they solved the basic fundamental problem, like Kurt just talked about, which came out that was validated by LinkedIn study of the buyers that responded to this, which was, I think it was almost 700 buyers, executive buyers came to this. It was validated by LinkedIn's 2018 sales performance study that basically said buyers are looking back at your LinkedIn profile to determine whether or not they're going to actually have a conversation. And the number was 62%. And that's only going to get larger, right? The more engagement that you have on a digital, on a social platform, or through video, even email, especially with many people putting their LinkedIn profile as a icon on their auto signature, the more times than not, a buyer's going to look back and say, who are you? What do you have to offer? Are you just another sales guy or gal? Or do you have something that you can help solve a business problem of mine, right? And that was huge validation. And I want to turn it over to Bernie because, Bernie, you've spent countless hours working through the Vengreso messaging. And there's a lot of people that are out there that have a lot of chit chat. Have any of you seen the movie Kung Fu Panda #3?
Can't say I have.
Only those with kids.
Only those with kids. Okay, for those listening in who have Kung Fu Panda #3, at the very end when he's fighting the bull, right? And he comes and he's like, we're going to battle. And he's like, cut the chit chat out. And he was like, I'm going to chit chat. And then the guy goes, I'm going to chit chat, chitty chitty, chat chat, chit chat. All this chit chat out there in the marketplace about how to engage with social, how to engage with digital. We have managed to cut through that noise and really help people understand the steps that they need to go through really 3 categories. Bernie, do me a favor, talk a little bit about that in terms of what are the 3 things that we should be thinking of, or the couple things we should be thinking of before training a salesperson where to fish and how to fish.
The data that came out of the CSO Insights report that Kurt was describing earlier on the social selling adoption rates and how those companies that have the highest adoption rates have the highest win rates. Along with that, when you kind of peel back the onion on like what makes those companies successful in the adoption of social selling, a big factor is alignment between sales and marketing. And then when you peel back the onion, another layer on that, well, what does that mean, alignment between sales and marketing? One big factor, perhaps the biggest factor, is delivering to the sales team the content that they need to engage with their buyer. Because we know that the buyer, the modern B2B buyer, we often state, in fact, I think we're quoting Byron Matthews, the CEO of Miller Heiman Group, who has said, the modern buyer, the modern B2B buyer has gotten better at buying faster than sellers have become at selling. And the reason for that is because buyers are consuming content that's readily available on the internet. And buyers are consuming that content long on their own path to basically assess who can solve their problems. So if companies rely on just content that's coming out from marketing, that puts salespeople at a disadvantage. So the way that salespeople can become more advantaged and more engaged with buyers is by having access to content that they can share with their prospective buyers and become a resource to those buyers and essentially insert themselves into the customer's path who's actually conducting that research. And so it's really important that marketers provide that content to salespeople. And there's 2 ways that they can do that. They can provide better content that's more useful through their blog content, their infographics, etc., but then also providing to salespeople what we at Vengreso call vaulted content. And the vaulted content is content that's made available to salespeople behind a quote unquote vault, which is basically a login, a private login, where it's only accessible to salespeople, and that content is organized by some combination of buyer interest, buyer pain points, buyer personas, buyer's journey, perhaps other factors, maybe industry, maybe geography, whatever the factors might be that are relevant to that sales organization. But the point is making that content available to the sales team so that the sales team is empowered or enabled, to use sales enablement vernacular, right? Salespeople are enabled to access the content that they need to start and engage conversations with buyers and catch those buyers earlier in their journey so that they're not forced to just deal with the buyer very late in their journey after the buyer has created all kinds of opinions because of the content that they've consumed on their own. So we have to provide that content to the sales organizations. And again, we call that content for sales, and an element of that is providing vaulted content.
And oftentimes we talk to organizations and you ask us, the marketing team, what type of content are you producing today? Is it primarily product-based content, materials about the product, the technology, or is it content for sales enablement, meaning mapping to the buyer's journey at the awareness, consideration, and the purchasing phase? And 7 times out of 10, we hear marketing teams saying, no, it's really product-based information, right? I mean, there's a little bit of blog information, but it's really product-based information. And this is super critical that this problem is solved first. And so for those of you that wondered why is it that Vengreso, a digital sales training and consulting firm, is consulting on content? It's because you cannot launch a digital sales program. Let me repeat this. You cannot launch a digital sales program without ensuring that your sellers have the right bait to bait their hook. All right. So this is why, and as Bernie's pulling that fishing pole in, this is why when we formed Vengreso from a strategy perspective, we brought in a content marketing agency Bernie was the CEO of that content marketing agency. And you guys don't know this about us. And we're now talking about it here publicly for everybody listening in. But we actually nearly dismantled that entire content marketing business. And we retooled it and restructured it to be focused only on one thing and one thing only. And that's what we care about: sales. Helping salespeople get the right content they need to bait their hook. So that's the first one. And the other thing was, Kurt mentioned, Viveka, about the LinkedIn report, how buyers are looking back at an individual's LinkedIn profile. And we talk about not losing your buyer on the first click into your profile. Talk a little bit about the methodology. Bernie talked about the bait. We know that there's this teach a man or woman how to fish, but there's something in between before you go fishing. What is that?
It's the pull. You got your bait, you got your fish. What goes between the two? It's the pull. It's what you need in order to capture the fish. And quite frankly, that's your profile. You need to have the right visibility. You need to have the right branding. You need to look good. You mentioned earlier when you get Googled on LinkedIn, what's one of the first things that shows up? It's your LinkedIn profile. And think about it. As an individual, you probably know that you need to have a decent profile. But there are so many companies out there that aren't even aware of their employees' profiles, what they look like, and what they're doing to the brand. And that's where we've really taken off with this idea of helping companies create profiles for the entire sales team and hopefully at some point for the entire company.
Yeah. So if you think about this, it's the fishing pole, the analogy that we just used, is all about, you can't go fishing. I'm not even a fisherman, so I'm probably going to destroy this. But you got to make sure if you're going to catch shark, you can't bring the pole that's intended to catch catfish, right? So you got to make sure you've got the right pole that has the right messaging on there, and that's that profile. So when someone clicks in on your profile, if 62% of buyers are actually clicking through on your profile, does it read that you're the top quota crushing, top performing, best contract negotiator? Or, guys, remember this? This is one of our clients. This is a true story. No joke, true story. And it's one of our clients who the organization has written a raving review about our training program. They said thanks, but no thanks. They really didn't need help until we sent them a picture of their top 3 salespeople, or their first 3 salespeople that pull up on LinkedIn. And do you remember what one of them had on the top of their banner?
Skull and crossbones.
Yeah.
The skull and crossbones. And they had been with the company for almost, I don't forget what it was, a year or whatever it was. And they had a skull and crossbones at the top. And then another one.
VP of sales almost had a heart attack when he saw it.
Yeah.
that's exactly right. And the other one was, this was a technology company. They were selling software. And one of their sales reps had previously been at Google, and they were selling at that time search engine optimization, like profile services packages. And the opening line on their summary, I don't know if anybody remembers this. Does anybody remember what the opening line said about them being a something blank expert?
SEO expert.
An SEO
Which
expert.
had nothing to do with the company they were with now.
Exactly right. A search engine optimization expert. And that's what their summary was about, search engine optimization. And it was like, when the marketing leader and the sales leader saw this, remember, Kurt, what the sales leader did? We sat down in the conference room, and the sales leader said, I never fill in the blank.
I thought he said it never occurred to me.
Exactly right. Yes. And what did he do? He was like, hit his head and was like, why did I ever think? I inspect my salespeople's voicemails.
Yeah, he assumed. I assumed everyone would have a professional profile.
That's right. Yeah. And the crazy part is we inspect their emails. We oftentimes put in even formats for your auto signature on a corporation, right? We give them advice on their voicemail greetings, and we
phone scripts,
email scripts, right? But nothing to do with the social aspect. And it was like a revelation to everyone. So everybody listening in, this is not about the commercial about Vengreso. This is about, if you're out there and you're engaging with one of these arrows in your quiver, which in this case, we're talking about social or video, you've got to make sure that before you start fishing or going out to go fishing, you got to have the right content, the bait. You got to have the right fishing pole with the right messaging to catch the fish you're looking to catch. And then you've got to have the right skills to get out there and go training. Now, that having been said, we're announcing something massive, big, giant, ginormous, huge, as our friend Sherry Levitin would said, huge. I don't even know how to spell that. U-G-E? How do you spell huge?
U-G-E.
Huge. Viveka, talk a little bit about, there are 5 products that we're launching on a platform between now and the end of March. Talk a little bit about that. What is it?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we are so excited because the fact is, not everyone can afford our 6, 7, hopefully one day 8-figure price tag. We need to have some content that's available to the individual salesperson, to the influencer, to the business owner. And so we started with the idea of creating an online on-demand program that's called Selling with LinkedIn. But then we decided, that's not fair to our teams. How about these big sales teams? Are we going to exclude them? But the thing is, you probably know with big sales teams is they need some more customized training. They need some more customized coaching. So then we decided, let's blend this all together. Let's take this awesome new on-demand course, Selling with LinkedIn, and let's customize it. And let's offer customized training and customized coaching for companies that have bigger sales teams. So that's the second thing that we're launching, Selling with LinkedIn for teams. But let's face it, Sales Navigator is the best B2B social selling tool on the market, in my humble opinion. So
I would argue it's the best sales tool in the marketplace.
In the marketplace, period.
Period.
There we go. And so we need to be able to offer selling with Sales Navigator as well. And we need to be able to offer that both to individuals and to larger corporate sales teams. So we have Selling with Sales Navigator and Selling with Sales Navigator for teams, for those larger teams of people with the customized training and the customized coaching. Because here's the thing, and this is where a lot of other training companies get it wrong. They go, okay, we're going to offer our Selling with whatever program for $500. And then we're just going to multiply it by 1,000 and offer that to a larger corporation. But that's not enough. These larger corporations, they need more attention. They need more one-on-one or one-on-several types of coaching. And that's where the training comes in, but also support. So as they're coming across an item and maybe they didn't get to it when they were supposed to, they got to it a week later, and they really need some help, some coaching on how to implement that feature or how to add that particular profile element. Well, guess what? We offer the coaching as well. So that's the difference between the individual and for teams. And I think it makes these programs the most powerful out there as far as selling with social and with these social skills. And then finally, there are some people, as Mario mentioned, that just have profiles that are kind of meh. They're either costing their company business, or at the very least, they're not generating any business at all. They're resumes. And we strongly believe at Vengreso that your LinkedIn profile needs to be more than a resume. It needs to be a resource that people can go to, not only to research you, but to get valuable information from. And so the fifth product is just that. It's an online, on-demand program that will allow the individual to optimize their profile to the very best it could possibly be, without having to pay somebody else to write it for them, which we'll also do for you. Don't get me wrong. We're more than happy to write your profile for you, but it will be at a premium compared to what our LinkedIn Makeovers, the on-demand program, will be. So yeah, these are 5 courses. We've got more on the way too, but those are 5 that are going to launch in the next, couple weeks. And we're really, really super excited because there's just nothing else like it on the market.
So just to review, we've got selling with LinkedIn for individuals. We've got selling with LinkedIn Sales Navigator for individuals coming in the next 45 days. We've got selling with LinkedIn for teams, which is launched. Selling with LinkedIn Sales Navigator for teams, which is launched. And Kurt, teams, when we sell to teams, how big do you have to be for us to be able to help support a team environment?
To get the full benefit out of what we're doing, to take it beyond what happens in the individual on-demand course, you're looking at things like gamification. You're looking at peer stories. We're creating success playbooks for people, right? So there's accountability in there. There's some rah-rah in there in terms of really kind of motivating the people to do it, right? So all of those things, they all benefit from scale, from having a team, from having peers in there that can trade stories and push each other along and maybe have some friendly competitions and things like that, right? So that really starts to kick in at the point where somebody has at least 25 or more sales reps. When the team is at least 25 reps, we can sort of play the extra 4 or 5 tactics that really help drive the adoption. And remember, guys, this is your test. Why do we want to drive adoption of social selling?
It increases win rates.
Woo!
I'm glad,
by
you're paying attention to my earlier talk.
And interesting, when we talk about selling with LinkedIn, now Viveka described functionally what we're doing here, but Bernie, there is an entire 10-step methodology that we just was announced as a finalist. I have this eerie feeling we're winning the whole thing, buddy. Something big just happened for Vengreso in terms of winning an award in the marketplace. And it's based upon not just the product layer that Viv talked about, it's an entire methodology that we now use for implementing this with teams. You want to talk about our new award that is soon to be announced on February 22nd, I think it is?
Well, actually, you just stole my thunder. So if you're listening to this before February 22nd, then the official answer is we're a finalist in the Stevie Awards, which is a prestigious award that spans many categories across sales and customer service.
This is like the VMAs on TV for businesses, right? The Stevie Awards
is
like the
Oscars
VMAs.
of businesses.
Yeah, both are good analogies.
Hey, Bernie, who are you wearing?
Who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing now, you mean?
Yeah, who are you wearing?
It was a red carpet.
Come on, man. That's red carpet talk. Come on, man.
Gotcha. Oh,
I didn't even get it.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Right now I'm wearing,
Versace. I don't think I can
Frank
fit it.
flannel.
I'm wearing, it looks like you're wearing Under Armour. So that's who you're wearing.
I got it. Yeah,
But before February
am wearing
22nd, we are the finalist. We're a finalist in the Best Sales Training Product of the Year category in the Stevie Awards. We're the finalists. After February 22nd, I'm pretty confident we're going to be the winner. Okay. So, hey, if you want to check on that, just make sure you listen to this after February 22nd, because that is when it will be announced at the Academy Awards, also known as the Stevie Awards in Las Vegas. Where else would the Stevie Awards big annual gala be but Las Vegas?
Las Vegas.
And Mario, I think you are going to be there, right?
I will be there and hopefully accepting our award for this particular product category.
Well, first place. Accepting first place.
First place award.
Before February 22nd, finalist, February 22nd.
This isn't one of those things that if it happens in Vegas, it stays in Vegas, is it?
No, it's going everywhere.
No, this one's,
I think this is super important for people to understand that the 10 steps that we're talking about that has won the product of the, hopefully will win the product of the year, the sales training product of the year. This is the methodology that we bring to the marketplace to help a sales organization drive adoption from that category where CSO Insights talked about at that 25%. And by the way, majority of the big giant customers that come to us, they have a horrible adoption rate. So if you're a sales leader listening in, one of the challenges that are facing our B2B sales leaders today is that you're spending on average about $1,000 to $1,200 per user for a LinkedIn Sales Navigator, as an example, per year. Per year,
yeah.
Right? Now multiply that by 1,000 or more person sales workforce. I promise you that your adoption rate is somewhere probably below 30%, because the big giant behemoth organizations that we've worked with have had this exact same issue, and they've been going at it with trying to get training from LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn and their product. It is a phenomenal product, but I'm going to tell you, the training, it sucks. You know why? Because it doesn't teach skill. It only teaches product. Now that's important. But it's like having Cisco come out and put in a new IP phone system in your office. And you get the guys out to the technicians and you say, technicians, can you teach our guys how to go about making calls, transferring calls, setting up their voicemail? The answer is yes. I can click here, do that, pick up the phone, do this. Now you say, technician, please teach our guys how to do cold calling. It's not going to work. It just won't work. And that is why this 10-step methodology process that we go through is super important. Everything from understanding what your goals are all the way through to coaching. And guess what? Kurt, can you pick up the phone and call anyone at LinkedIn for support?
No.
Nowhere in the world? You can't call anybody for support?
Not even if you got one of these babies hooked up to Jeff Weiner, man. You cannot get a human being at LinkedIn.
You've got to tell the audio listener what Kurt just showed.
Just held up a big, giant, yellow, old school, what's it called?
Rotary phone.
Rotary dialer.
You can just tell people I'm holding up a Western Electric 789B Princess Rotary telephone.
It's sitting right next to his Rolodex.
I love it. Well,
but Mario, I think it's worth pointing out that in this 10-step program, I think that the reason that it was selected as a finalist and will be the winner is because when you look at the 10 steps, and we're not going to name all 10 steps, and it's a sales training program, right? Training is step number 7.
Mm-hmm.
And to a lot of people, that's counterintuitive. Wait a second, this is a sales training program. And training is step number 7 out of 10? Yes, because all the other steps set up the training to be the perfect timing so that you get the results that you want to achieve. You don't just put people through training. That's the old style of just dunk people through training. This program has 6 steps to get you ready for training so that the training is wildly successful.
Yeah, good point. I want to switch gears here for a second because last year we did something pretty amazing, guys. And we talked about this early on. We hit some revenue goals and booking goals that we dismantled a big chunk of our content marketing business. And then we turned around and we made our booking revenue goals, and congratulations to Kurt and to the sales organization for helping to do that, as along with Bernie and the marketing team for helping us to accomplish that.
And you.
Well, thank you. And of course, I'm saving all of our glory, Viv, for you and I when we go through this launch here this year in 2019. I'm saving all the glory for you and I. But one of the things I want to talk about is the role of entrepreneurship. And we've been at this now almost 2 years. We have grown to the largest digital sales training company in the world. We have a reach. Last year alone, we hit 98 million people through social media. Now, I want to compare that to some of the largest sales training companies in the world. If you look at some of the largest sales training companies, the next highest level of reach, according to Brand24, that is, was 4 million people as compared to our 98 million people. Yeah. And that is just a phenomenal accomplishment. And I think we practice what we preach, which is become masters at creating something. Bernie, you want to talk about how we've been able to accomplish some of those things in terms of our reach and practicing what we preach?
Well, it's multifaceted. It's like a great meal, right? It's got lots of ingredients. And so we produce a lot of content. We're publishing blog content on a daily basis. We're publishing lots of videos, largely thanks to Viv, but everybody in the team produces video. And then we repurpose all that content. We put it up in our sales advocacy tools so that everybody in the company amplifies it. We're very, very consistent in doing all of that. So when you look at both the quantity of the content that we're publishing, along with our aggressive, and I have no apology in using the word aggressive, amplification program and strategy around that, that is like a fan. Like we put a fan onto all that content, and it's gone out there and reached 98 million people.
Like taking the lighter fluid and squirting it on the fire when the barbecue's on. It's like, right?
Yeah. And it's not a secret formula. Like simply stated, that's the formula. It's all about execution, baby. It's about execution. It comes down to that.
Yeah. And it works. It clearly works because it drives a funnel and it drives visibility. I've always said this from the beginning, and you guys know this: brand drives demand. And that's what I've talked about from the longest time since we started. But, Vengreso, people from the outside, looking in, I just got a message, I think it was last night, if I'm not mistaken. And it's from a president of a Fortune 100 company, and as a good friend of mine. And he text messaged me and he said, "My God, you guys have done something amazing with the brand, and just in terms of your reach, it's everywhere. I see it. It's almost as big as ours." Now, I know that is not the case, but we've really focused on that. But it hasn't come without pain, we would say. Let's talk about life of an entrepreneur. People talk about wanting to start their own business, their own company, go off on their own. And all four of us, and the rest of our partners as well, have been part of entrepreneurship. What is life like at Vengreso? And let's start with you, Kurt, and talk a little bit about what has life been like at Vengreso?
Well, I'd had my business for, I think, 9 years before I joined Vengreso, as you said, almost 2 years ago. To me, the biggest benefits are being part of a team where we all have a collective mission, and you can really bounce the ideas off and kind of come up with the best possible solution. And I think that also because everybody brought, different experience to the table. And so we had this mix of whether it was creating IP, whether it was sales methodologies or marketing, whether it's methods for delivery. I think that that's very valuable. So it's a really nice mix. I mean, I've been in a handful of startups, tech startups over the last 30 years. And I've worked for big companies like AT&T, and I've been a solopreneur. And I always tell people, of all the scenarios, there is nothing more fun than being part of a small team that is growing and winning. Of all the combinations, that's the best, because you have the excitement of growth, you have the real feeling of accomplishment that your individual efforts are making a difference, which you don't get in a gigantic corporation, quite frankly. But at the same time, it's not all on you, that like it is as a solopreneur. And you can sort of gravitate to your areas of skills because there's somebody else on the team that probably have skills where you're weak. And the good news is Sometimes they even like to do it. Oftentimes they do like to do it. That's why they're good at it. And so I think the idea that we talk about a lot is having our swim lanes. To me, those are the benefits of being on a small entrepreneurial team.
Nice. Viv, life of an entrepreneur, what's it like?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because silly me, I thought, well, there's going to be all these other people on my team. I'll get a little more time off. Yeah, not so much. The life of a startup entrepreneur is a busy one. Having said that, exactly to Kurt's point, the mind share, the teamwork, the support that you get, as a solopreneur, as the owner of a smaller business, you just don't experience that. The other thing is I'd gotten lazy. I'd literally written 3 books on LinkedIn. I'm kind of internationally known as an expert in that. And I just thought I knew it all, baby. And one of the things is working with the 3 of you as well as the rest of our team. Guess what? I don't know it all. And the ability to keep learning keeps your content fresh, keeps your mind fresh, but it also keeps me excited because honestly, I was pretty burned out. It was going to be Vengreso, or I was going to start doing like personal coaching to executive women because I was a little burned out on the whole being a LinkedIn expert thing. And now I'm invigorated by it. I'm excited by it. And I'm excited by the expanse and the breadth that the 3 of you, as well as the rest of our team members, have brought to my personal experience very, very selfishly. When one or more are gathered, it's so much more than just the one.
Well, and I'll tell you this, how committed Viveka is to our training program, that she was slated to go. No, I don't know if anybody else would have done this. My wife would have killed me, but Viveka had a trip to St. Martin and she had to cancel that trip literally the day she was
wedding trip to St. Martin.
It wasn't the honeymoon. It wasn't the honeymoon, but it was a wedding trip. It was a gift. And the day of, she canceled it because we needed to make sure that we delivered on time for our program. So hats off to everything that you're doing for our training program, Viveka. It's been awesome. Bernie, you had a very thriving, successful content marketing business. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we brought everybody together and I probably gave you I think you have a couple extra gray hairs as a result of this.
Actually, Mario, he still has this big, gorgeous black hair. You're the one who's got all the grays now.
Yeah. Well, and mine's receding even more. My God.
I know.
I know any one of your guys' significant others might have a voodoo doll with me. They're just poking me at nighttime, like this guy's killing me. Bernie, what about you? Talk a little bit about that.
So what I'll add, just to complement what both Kurt and Viv have said, is that the metaphor that I think is most appropriate for life at Vengreso for these last almost 2 years is kind of the airplane metaphor, in that when an airplane is first ascending, it's getting off the ground and it's going up to an altitude of say 30,000 feet to fly to a long distance destination, that the engines are going full throttle. So there's 2 aspects to that I think really apply to us. One is, in all transparency, because we were a startup, we were building that airplane while we were getting it off the ground. But to Viv's point, and Kurt's point, we were doing it as a team, with each of us having a respective swim lane and then complementing each other. I love what Viv said about learning from each other. I totally agree with that. And that's an everyday thing with me. Mm-hmm. So just getting that airplane off the ground just required full throttle. Now, by no means am I implying that we're at cruising altitude and just cruising. But because we're almost 2 years into it, we have had the opportunity to be validated by significant customer wins. And to your point, Mario, we celebrated a profitable year in 2018 after our first full year of operation. So that validation does allow us to say that, yeah, we've gotten past the going full throttle just to get airborne. We're airborne. And now we're going on the journey to help more salespeople start more sales conversations, and doing it through just terrific programs that we're about to get recognized for on February 22nd with a gold star on the best sales program, and lots of other exciting announcements that are forthcoming. But that's the metaphor that really comes to my mind that kind of explains, life at Vengreso over the last almost 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know I have thoroughly enjoyed working with all of my fellow co-founders here at Vengreso, Viveka and Kurt and Bernie. And as with any leadership team, whether it's a company that has longevity or it's a startup company, there's a lot of moves, there's a lot of ads, there's a lot of changes, and you've got to expect it. And I think something that's been interesting is, especially when it comes to sales leadership, as sales leaders, we have changes that happen within our sales organization. Sometimes it sucks and sometimes it's rough, right? And when we see those types of things. But with every change that we've had in the organization, I can honestly say it's been a great thing for the company, right? With every single change. And I think that's one of the key things that I've really learned is embrace the change and roll with it, right? Embrace the change and roll. To that end, I've come up with the mantra here for my 2019, and I've talked a lot about this, and that is that we've got to make sure we build it to scale. It's all about built to scale. That's the focus. The other one is be awesome. Everything that we do has got to be awesome. And if it's not awesome, we keep doing it until it is. That's just the mindset. And my personal favorite, don't do normal. So for all of you listening in right now, I want to personally thank you for listening in to this story, the Vengreso path, where we've gone, where we're going, what's coming out. Make no mistakes about it. Recently, I heard someone say that our name was not Vengreso, it was Gresso for being aggressive. And I just want to thank all of you out there in the marketplace that gave us that title. That's happy to take that title to the marketplace, because make no mistakes about it. With this leadership team here, there is no other logical choice for digital sales training, and I truly believe that. There is nobody else on the planet that understands how to be able to bridge sales and marketing together, and that understands you cannot teach a man or a woman how to fish until you give them the right bait and the right fishing pole. So all of you listening in to Selling with Social, thank you. Thank you. And one more thank you for supporting our journey. We love you all. 100th episode, signed out with Vengreso leaders, Kurt Shaver, Viveka von Rosen, Bernie Borges. Thank you for being with us. And all of you listen into the music, and I hope you enjoyed the new beats to the Selling with Social song here. Peace out, y'all. Hey, thanks for listening to the Selling with Social Sales Podcast. Did you enjoy that show? If so, would you do me a huge favor and give the Selling with Social podcast a rating and review on iTunes? That would be super awesome. Also, if you want to easily find our show, just go to Vengreso.com. That's Vengreso.com and click on podcast. From there, you'll find the Selling with Social podcast. Thanks for listening in. And until the next show, be awesome. Mario Martinez Jr.